Second round called power play. Sarunan, to you first.
Yeah.
Many believe that the death penalty is premeditated murder by the state-sponsored barbarism. All right. As gruesome as a crime it seeks to punish. So the state is in no way different or better than the criminal.
If a death sentence is awarded by the Sessions Court, it is confirmed by the High Court. It has to be confirmed within 3 months by the High Court, and immediately Supreme Court also has to approve it. There are so many inbuilt safeguards. Therefore, we can never term it as a savagery by the state, because state has got an obligation to protect its citizen and give feeling of security in the minds of citizen. Therefore, death penalty can never be termed as such.
133 countries have abolished the death sentence, and the deterrent theory seems to be hollow, because wherever, for instance, Canada, the homicide rate came down after executions were stopped. So there is no conclusive evidence or data available to suggest that when you stop the death penalty, that crimes shoot up.
Law is a social science. There is nothing absolutism in any science relating to law. It's like not like a mathematics, 2 into 2 is 4, whether you do it in Kanyakumari or in Chennai. In law, we decide the value of that decision on the circumstances of the situation. Then the other aspect is, it is not a death penalty as everyone thinks, that the king feels that he wants to prosecute somebody or punish somebody, he immediately executes. There is an adjudicative mechanism called a court with 2 appellate remedies as per the Universal Declaration of Human Rights itself. So, in as much as the death penalty should be abolished totally or not will depend upon a situation whether the society over the world has sublimes towards a totality of civilization. Until then, all these small illustrations can be given on both sides, they are not the real index.
Sarunan, to you. Yeah. You say deterrence, but then the risk of actually being put to death is remote. So the fear factor itself isn't really there. I'll give you examples. There have been 15 executions in the last 18 years in India. 1992 6, 93 4, 95 2, 96 2, and 2004 1, Dhananjoy Chatterjee in Kolkata.
That's right.
So where's the fear factor here?
No, certainly the fear factor is there. See, in the case of this, if you take up this Dharmaburi bus burning case,
students
burning case, the fear factor is there. The way it's like it has been the death sentence awarded, immediately they moved the High Court. That definitely death is the deterrent for abnormally depraved mind. Death is the deterrent. There is no other equivalent. You might lock him for 100 years, but still there is hope. When you put him to death, it's done. It's done with it. We are done with it.
All right, Mr. Vijayan, I'd like to quote Justice Krishna Iyer, who said, "The Supreme Court is not final because it is infallible.
Yes.
It is infallible because it is final." So the question of judicial errors also cannot be ruled out here, she said, and it's a sped arrow.
Yes. No, my only point to be addressed is, I do not say that death penalty is there just because it is done by judiciary. Judiciary never makes any mistakes. That's not actually the argument. Today, one political party man out of his euphorism does something for ex-political leader. The other person who knows that there is a death penalty will not try to attempt this for the second time. That is what really we have to.
All right, Sarunan. The death penalty, I mean, those who argue against the scrapping of the death penalty say that it's been there from time immemorial, so why oppose it now? So has the caste system, right? Why are we fighting the caste system today?
No, see, death penalty, we cannot equate caste system and death penalty together. Actually speaking, death penalty, there is no data. There is no crystallized data to show that, abolition or inclusion of death penalty has any effect in the reduction of crimes.
I'm sorry, Amnesty International has
Amnesty International does not have any conclusive proof. It does not have any conclusive proof, and it is not shown by any scientific studies. There is actually a correlation between abolition or inclusion of a death penalty in a penal statute. It serves a different purpose. Death penalty serves a different purpose. It serves a deterrent effect and gives security in the minds of people.
Solitary confinement or life imprisonment, you're almost taking away a part of the person's life. That's not enough.
Punishment contains different varieties. Then one can say solitary punishment for 1 year, is it not enough? One can say for solitary punishment by taking away the property or etc., is it not fine? In all cases, we don't have penalty inside the jail. We can also fine, or in lieu of the fine, etc., is there. See, the idea behind all these things of the punishment is, we have different grades of punishment. Whether it's enough or not enough is the question. We have to tackle a situation which we have faced on 26/11, which we have faced on 1 or 2 occasions, which In such situations, a person takes himself for granted. There need to be a situation to control it. If it is not done, what will happen? Assume you abolish death penalty. I believe there will be more Unnai Pol Oruvans and there will be more Wednesdays from the individuals will start. It will have a counter effect.
Saravanan, the object of any punishment should be reformation. That's what civilized societies would believe in. Here you are denying a person the chance to reform.
No, that's what we will have to look at, how a death penalty is awarded. See, death penalty is not awarded to each and everybody who has committed a murder, has committed an offense of higher degree. Murder is, death penalty is awarded to a person who has showed depravity, complete, total depravity of mind, who has committed a murder in cold and diabolical manner, who shows the court comes to a conclusion that there is no chance of reformation. Only in that rarest of rare case, a death penalty is awarded. So, there is no question of reformation. You cannot reform such a person. Do you think you can reform Kasab? No way. Can you reform a person who has committed the murder and rape of a 7-year-old girl? No way. They have to be put to death. That will give security to the people, security in the citizens. They think we are in a place where, our rights are valued.
All right. Kasab, they say 31 crore to keep him alive. So, I know the argument is that also, that why waste taxpayers' money to keep a person alive? But again, research has shown.
We to decide about Kasab.
No, right. What about wastage of taxpayers' money on other things? And research has shown that it costs 2.5 times more to actually keep a person in prison.
No, for this, my immediate answer is, this is a very bad tendency to find what is the cost of having a prison. Cost of conducting an election in India is more than cost of keeping a prison. So, let us not go to the cost. In every administration or governance, there will be a cost. See, this is not an argument. We are not running a pawn shop to see what is the cost of running the governance.
All right. Saravanan, when it comes to terrorists, do you think they would prefer the humiliation of lifelong imprisonment or to be martyred by death?
That's why they'll have to be humiliated by imprisonment, then they'll have to be hanged.
Okay. Final question. Okay, one more question and then your chance will come, Ozzy. The families of those who are sentenced to death, they also suffer. Sometimes they are also innocent. So why punish two families in that sense?
No, there is only one aspect to be told. In every system,
because Sonia Gandhi pardoned Nalini when it was, it was commuted from, death sentence to life imprisonment. Sonia Gandhi, in a sense, said that she has it's a case of closure for her.
No, my only point is it is not a grace by which I give somebody a pardon or I don't give somebody a pardon. What one has to look into is the one family suffers, another family does not suffer is not the understanding of crime and punishment. It is, if you have to make omelette, you have to break egg. So, there is nothing called that you keep everybody happy. That may be possible in an election manifesto, not in understanding or handling the governance.
All right. Thank you very much, Team 2. Now is your chance, Ozzy. All right. First question to Ozzy Fernandez, who's been itching to speak his mind. Ozzy, human rights for criminals or human rights for victims was the essence of that emotional outburst of Mr. Veerasamy, quite understandably, father of Kokilavani, who was burnt alive in that bus, where these people prevented those children from even escaping. They blocked the doors also. And we saw the diabolical manner in which those girls were roasted alive. Now, don't you think that the death sentence alone can bring closure to the families of victims?
I'll answer that, but I need to go further.
Yes.
I respect Veerasamy's emotion, being his own daughter, and I would do anything to support him as human rights organizations. But Veerasamy has got his understanding of human rights wrong. As an emotional outburst, yes, it's okay, but those statements are fine. But you have to respect law. There has to be rule of law. And if there's no rule of law...
The law says hang them.
That's my second problem. My second problem is, it's not the law. You have a state, you have an IPC that in more than 8 to 10 provisions sanctions death penalty in India. You have numerous laws in India which sanctions death penalty. My problem is with the judicial assassination, the failure of the judiciary and the failure of the prosecution time and again to establish You know, we do not know whether it is those particular 3 persons in this case. It's very difficult to prove these things. I don't want to go into it. But I am arguing that the right to life, the right to liberty is supreme. It cannot be taken away. Death penalty cannot be abolished. Has to be abolished. That's what Mr. Saravanan said.
I never said that.
No, you said that it should not be abolished.
Should not be abolished.
Yeah, so I am saying that it must be abolished if you want to protect life.
The punishment should fit the crime. So when it's a diabolical murder, what's wrong in society at large wanting that person's neck?
What is the criteria with which you measure the fitting of the punishment with the crime is also very important. Eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth is not the answer. As I keep repeating, it will make the whole world blind. If there is going to be an amputation, then would you go and say then take off his hand also? I do not think this is it's logical at all, one. Secondly, punishment could, as I rightly told you, could be only for reformation, not for deterrence or for retribution. So, when that is so, I definitely ensure that it should not be a capital punishment, and all of us agree that the system is not flawless. So, you take away the life, you cannot bring him back. So, you will have to ensure that there is no death penalty, and I really respect Veeraswamy's feelings, and he also rightly pointed out how Sonia Gandhi says show mercy to these people and ensure that their capital punishment is commuted to one of life. See, the entire thing is when you are emotionally charged, our own middle class mentality feels that it is a justified action of the state to take away the life, or we even say we have this common thing, that is the mentality with which we are brought up with. So, we feel taking the lathi, the state will have to ensure that it is going to be violent, and so that it will give me confidence to walk on the street. That is not the case.
Right.
The state need not take its arms to give me the confidence. It need not take away somebody's life to give me a confidence to live here.
All right, Ozzy.
Yeah.
There used to be this this detergent ad saying soft on clothes and hard on dirt, right? Similarly, but if you look at the law today, it seems to be soft on criminals and hard on victims, and I'll tell you why. The burden, right from the burden of proof that has to be proved by the prosecution, beyond the shadow of doubt, right? The rarest of rare cases and for extreme depravity and savagery that the capital punishment is awarded. There are several tiers of judicial wisdom through which it has to pass, from the trial court, then a referred trial to the High Court, then the Supreme Court, and then there is also a mercy petition. So, the criminal here has so many escape routes, and in spite of all that, if he is convicted, so be it, is the argument of most people in society.
I don't know if it's most people in society.
Okay, barring the human rights activists.
No. We have here itself many friends who are against death penalty. So, I don't think it's most people. It's what Sudha was pointing out, I won't get into this, that we have this mentality of only looking at death penalty, taking away life. In the last 1 year, the right to life, please understand, includes the right to livelihood. In the last 1 year, the government of Tamil Nadu has taken away, has evicted more than 1 lakh people from their homes, which is removing their right to life and livelihood. They haven't only killed them. Is the government of Tamil Nadu now willing to be prosecuted for removing their right to life and livelihood? Whereas one person you catch, you prosecute for 7 years, 8 years, and then say death. You cannot do that. Poor people are being evicted daily. That is also a denial of right to life and
commuting death penalty to life imprisonment. And then you have the power of remission. As you mentioned, there are several occasions when criminals are let off on the birthdays of great leaders. So the judicial system is being exploited.
The judiciary, if it was vigilant, and even the prosecution, if it's vigilant, can definitely ensure that in the judgment itself it says that there shall be no remission for this person. So, thereafter the executive power is curbed, one. Secondly, the notion of punishment also, I think the entire thing should be changed. You were speaking about solitary confinement, which is against human rights. I don't think solitary confinement is a real
but any punishment you will say is against human rights.
No, punishment, yes. See, till the day you are visited with law, you will laugh. The day you are visited with law, you will not laugh. Just take the example of a policeman taking you into the police station and just keeping you there just because you just stood before the Rashtrapati, this governor's bungalow, Raj Bhavan. Just 3 of them stand before the Raj Bhavan, 3 of them stand before such a big 200, 300 feet road.
For the right to information.
Yes, for a transparent governance, they are put inside the police station, taken away from station to station, not being told where they are kept. What do you think? Do you think it is a real law? No, let me say, if you are called to be kept,
round is over.
I am talking about solitary confinement, I am talking about taking away individuals' rights. Tomorrow,
punishment.
if you are visited with these rights, you could be charged. If the policeman cannot find out who the murderer is, your neighbor or you could also be implicated for the murder. So this is the system where we can implicate any Tom, Dick and Harry, any innocent person, and the same capital punishment can visit you. That day you will come and say, madam, yes, this is a cruel system. I am not visited with the punishment, but I know the repercussions. That's why we are here telling that this should not be done.
We'll contest this and also malicious prosecution. We'll ask Saravanan in the next round, of course.
But you're not letting them clap.
No, no. If you want to clap, you can clap. All right, Aussie to you next. Life imprisonment. Life in prison, we know how if you pay money and if you have the right connections, you can get anything you want inside the prison. You can have mobile phones and operate your network of terror sitting inside the prison. You can have a spa inside a prison as Madani had. You can have a badminton court inside a prison as Ramalingaraju had. So life in prison really doesn't suffice for certain categories.
You can get even ganja.
No, no. What? Yeah.
Even ganja inside the prison is what he says.
No, please.
Sorry, I would like to add this and say that life in prison you may be able to get anything, but you get into the prison mainly because you did not have a good lawyer, mainly because the prosecutor was one-sided and malicious. So getting into the prison also is because of the inefficiency of the system, or by and large only the poor get into the prison. I have gone into most of the prisons. Mohanigiri says in her article that she has gone into almost all prisons in India and she found only the poor and downtrodden inside the prison only because they did not get proper legal aid, or they were prosecuted because they did not give mamul or whatever it is. The prosecution is one-sided, the judiciary is another, is blind to things, and what will happen is people inside the prisons will not be Ramalingarajus. He will come out in no time. He will enjoy all the facilities. It is a common man like you and me who will suffer in the prison and will also be executed.
All right, you've answered that, so I'll ask Ozzy the next question. That's well put. Private revenge. You see many accused in the courts being bumped off. So capital punishment is to, in a sense, satisfy to ensure that there is no private revenge. So the state takes it upon itself to send somebody to the gallows.
See, when there is state terrorism daily, the state itself is a terrorist. Every encounter death is a death penalty without law. Please understand this, my friends. When you kill people in police stations, you kill people through encounter deaths, it's arbitrarily taking away your right to life. Death penalty goes through at least a judicial process. When the state is indulging in encounter deaths all over the country in India, what else is that? And how can the same state preside over whether I should give death penalty or not? 1 minute, please, this is not your own. I am asking, where is the judiciary in India on encounter deaths? It is death penalty. Death penalty done in darkness, done in daylight by the state. Yes, directly under that. When I say state, I mean that. If that is so, where is the judiciary on death penalty in that? How can this judiciary preside over death penalty when it can't decide over encounter deaths? And police killings in police stations, rapes in police stations, in prisons, death in prisons, beating up people in prisons. What Sanjay is talking about
also, Jay Kumar was burnt alive inside prison.
What Sanjay is talking about is the top 3% in the prisons who get all the luxuries. Please understand, nothing of this can happen in prisons without the support, knowledge and conduit by the prison administration. It is not possible.
Fair enough. Point conceded. Mrs. Sudharamlingam next. The legal maxim that justice should not only be done but also seem to be done. You need capital punishment, what many say, to satisfy the collective conscience of society.
it should seem to be done, yes, but seeming to be done is not doing away with anybody's life, and seeming to be done is also because we cater to the ignorance of people around us, cater to the gallery, cater to the media, which thinks only bail, I mean jail and not bail must be the rule, which is against the human rights, which also thinks that just because you prosecute somebody or put somebody inside, you have got justice. Justice is not secured by putting anyone inside the prison, just by killing somebody in the prison or executing someone. The real justice would be got only if you ensure that there is a crimeless society by reformation in the minds of the people. Mind you, reformation in the minds of the people can never be by any coercive methods. Today even in schools you say you should not beat up a child. Earlier we thought don't spare the rod, if you spare the rod you spoil the child, but it is not so. So you will have to also spare the hangman. You should not be hanging anyone just because you think it would reform anyone. It's not going to reform anyone. Or electrocuting, whatever.
All right, Ozzy, next to you. They say the law is an ass given all the judicial delays, the mockery of the judicial system. If you do away with death penalty, then you're making the law becomes a magnanimous ass.
I disagree. It will become a much more brilliant ass. Anyway, it's an ass, but at least you need rule of law.
Brilliant ass is an oxymoron.
Yeah, okay, let's talk of rule of law. I mean, if several hundreds of countries have abolished death penalty, I don't see why India should have it on the statute book. There is no need. It's not as though we are a terrorist society. The collective consciousness is what? Whose consciousness? Sanjay says collective consciousness. Whose consciousness?
Not just human rights activists, but society at large.
No, but not just 3% of the elite.
The basic philosophy of ethics itself says each one is subjectively right and objectively one may or may not be right. If each one is subjectively right, there is no question of executing a person for whatever he did, because even the philosophy to which he had subscribed as Kasab or someone was because of the failure of the state itself, and he thought he was subjectively right.
And a person like Kasab showed no sign of remorse. He only said that he came to act in a Bollywood film. He wanted biryani and dew spray.
The standard with which you talk about showing of remorse itself is very different. If I
Kasab was standing in the witness box, laughing, cracking jokes. He had to be pulled up by the judge. He wanted deo spray, he wanted perfumes, he wanted basmati rice, and he said he came to act in films after spraying bullets.
You look at all your ministers who get caught.
If Raju can get all these, why not Kasab?
All your ministers who get caught for fraud, for theft. My problem is what the media wants to pick up, they pick up. And we go by media logic. What else do we have?
All right.
This is not acceptable.
I was waiting for that to happen. It's happened. Okay. Mrs. Sudha Ramalingam next. How, let's say if a person, a psychopath, escapes from prison, what happens then?
More so, he needs psychological attention, psychiatric attention. He is definitely not doing anything.
But you have insanity as a ground, as one of the grounds for exceptions to murder. Insanity is an exception to murder.
Would agree should not be prosecuted at all. Even on capital punishment, he cannot even be prosecuted.
There is
insanity
nothing
exception to murder.
scientific in the prison system or the police system in India. They use no science. They use only brutality. There is no reformation science at all. In the police system, you take the Directorate of Prosecutions, which my friend represents, there is no science in the Directorate of Prosecution.
All right.
Nothing. I will stand by it and I will prove it.
Yes. Last question to you, Ozzy. We'll give you the last word as well in this particular round as well. Terrorists who go around spraying bullets, who go around bombing hospitals, bombing nursery schools, they will reform themselves and you need to give them a chance, Ozzy?
I don't call them terrorists. I call them rebels, militants, fighting for a cause.
Yesterday's terrorist becomes today's patriot. Bhagat Singh was
Depends on
called
which side
as
of the
a
border you
terrorist
look.
earlier.
Correct.
Today he is
Depends
our
on which
hero.
side of the border you look, ma'am.
No, yesterday's terrorist is today's patriot, today's hero.
The social conditions produce militants, rebels.
Bhagat Singh was hanged. How many of you hold up your hand and tell me, think that he should have been hanged?
Why are Maoists fighting?
No, leave that. Tell me
wait.
if Bhagat Singh's execution was right. Tell me. One of you tell me, justify and say Bhagat Singh's execution was right. That day he was a terrorist. He was executed.
For the British.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Time now to take a short
So
break
none
on
of you
SL Chennai Speaks Out Season 2 on capital punishment, whether the death penalty should be abolished or retained. But you don't want to touch that remote because you've already seen how both sides were itching to take on each other. That time is going to come in a very short while from now. Stay tuned.